Welcome to Good Dads Podcast, episode Hot Topics. I'm here with Dr. Jennifer Baker, Executive Director of Good Dads. Dr. Baker, how are you?
I'm good. Who are you?
My name is Will Cox. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
So, episode today, would you like to explain what we're talking about?
Well, we're going to talk about allowing your child to fail, and while failure is important, you know, we've actually done things about teaching your child to succeed or helping your child succeed, but maybe today we're going to focus on why it's important to let your child fail and how to do that. And you have a couple children at home. I'm wondering if you've experienced that.
I do, and it happened last night, and allowing them to fail is more difficult than teaching them to succeed. There's no doubt about that. So last night, I got two boys, Liam and Chandler. Chandler, school comes more difficult to Chandler. He's got dyslexia, and he's always doing homework, so always having to stay on top of him. Liam is completely different. He's never had to study. He's takes care of himself. He knows when his tests are, and he gets straight A's, and he's always been extraordinarily on top of it. And he's the kid that you don't have to worry about. So we're sitting there last night, and Chandler's doing his homework like he normally does, and Liam goes, "Hey, you want to help me out with some history real quick? I know you like history." I'm like, "Oh yeah." And he knows what he's doing by just bringing me in on this activity. Mm-hmm. And so next thing you know, he's like, "Hey, read this." Well, it's a book report that he had to do, and I'm reading Expert, and I see him kind of getting frustrated. I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, just this report, just this stupid thing I have to do class." And I go, No. What is it?" And he goes, "Well," and so I read it, and I go, when did you get this?" He goes, "Well, it was last Wednesday." And I'm like, "Well, why are you just doing it now?" And it's like, it's a stupid assignment. He's really quick to blame others when he doesn't want to take that accountability, because he gets frustrated with it. He's like, "Well, my friends didn't read the book. It's a stupid book." And he starts making all these excuses. Mm-hmm. And so I put foot down and I go, "No, I don't care what everybody else is doing. Why wasn't it done?"
So this is your good student.
This is the good student.
Student that suddenly did not do the book report.
Suddenly didn't. So I'm sitting there and I start getting panicked. And I looked at one of the, because he's trying to write out, you have to act out a scene from the book. So I'm like, how are we going to get this done? It's 8:40 at night. It's bedtime. So what I did was, well, I don't want to get him a bad grade. So what I did is I marched over to the computer, opened up ChatGPT, gave the name of the book, and I said, write me a class skit for a sixth grader. And so here comes the skit. It's about 6 paragraphs long. It's looked like, yeah, he could write that. And all of a sudden I stopped, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I'm allowing my child to commit plagiarism, and he's in sixth grade. What am I doing? And so I called Mouse, my wife, Jenny. I go, "Mouse, come here. I don't know if I should do this." She's like, "No, you shouldn't do this." She goes, "If he turns it in late, he gets 75%. So he gets 25% off. You just need to let him do it." Yeah. And so I was all in on trying to catch my child, and it's a natural reaction that's very difficult for parents, because you don't want them to hurt. You don't want them to fail. And it is more important than almost anything, because that's how people grow and learn to be successful and be overcomers, because the world yes. isn't a soft place. So we told him, "Hey, here's the deal. He is upset about it. These are the consequences of your actions." So the fact this happened last night is perfect. Gave us something to talk about, but it's a very challenging thing for a parent, because we want to be there to catch constantly. And so just from your expertise and what you've dealt with, how should a parent go about that? What's a happy medium between that hurt and pain and trying to be there for the kid? How do you figure that out?
Well, let me ask you this. Did your parents allow you to fail?
Sometimes.
Okay, so give me an example of a time when your parents allowed you to fail and you learned from that.
I'm thinking of more times that they rescued me than allowed me to fail.
So you're saying it's a natural, genetically, you're kind of programmed.
That's how I am. I'm pre-genetically disposed to doing that. And so, no, that's one of the if they go back, there's a lot of things that they did that they should have allowed me to kind of figure out. But looking through, you get traffic tickets or whatever it is. Hey, you're paying for this. You wreck a car, you're paying for it. I had to pay for the repairs of my car when I was 16 years old. I got in a car crash. I was changing a CD out there, and my parents made me pay for it.
So so you learned something about distracted driving and paying attention and what the cost of that was going to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when do you think, because we learn so much from, I think, making mistakes, when do you think it dawned on you that was pretty important for you in your life? Like, wow, I'm not going to do that again. Like maybe you made some poor choices and then you were like, that didn't work out so well. And I'll be happy to tell you a couple of examples, but I'm curious about that.
I'm a late bloomer. I didn't grow up until I was 38, which has been 3 years ago. So, but it took a while, but looking now, having a father of two with a wife and a business owner, I look back at all the struggles and all the things that I had to deal with and all the failures I had to overcome, whether it's personally or professionally, that allowed me to be where I am now. So it is teaching your child to be an overcomer and set an example for them is of the utmost importance, because the world's a very tough place, and it's something that you've got to prepare them for this.
So you would agree that there are a lot of challenges in life, and you need to learn, you need to face some challenges in order to learn that you have the strength and the wherewithal to overcome those challenges.
Yeah, life isn't all rainbows and butterflies. Right. So,
okay.
Absolutely.
This Good Dads podcast is brought to you in part by our generous supporters. This week, we'd like to thank the following: Prime Inc., Lorenz Plumbing, Heating and Air, Flint Rock Home Builders, TSV Logistics, CrossFit Provision, and Howell Commercial Refrigeration. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Visit our website at gooddads.com to learn how to contribute to the Good Dads mission.
So when our children were about, I'm going to say 13, 14, 15, in that range, they learned how to do laundry. Now, if I had been a little smarter, they would have learned earlier, but I did the laundry on Fridays. I worked on Saturdays, so I didn't work on Fridays, and they would take their clothing. And so I wanted them to bring their clothing in a laundry basket to the laundry area, and then I would wash it and I would fold it and put it away. But of course, that rarely happened. First of all, I often had to go get the laundry. Secondly, then I had to do the laundry. And then when I gave that nice, fresh, clean laundry back into their room, they would just pile dirty clothes on top of it. And nothing I said or did seemed to change that. So I said to our kids, hey, would you like to learn to do the laundry? And they both looked at me like, wow. And I said, would you like to have a nicer mom on Friday morning? Because I'm always nagging you about the laundry. And you know what? I think maybe you could just do it when it's convenient for you. And then I'll be in much better frame of mind on Friday morning. I'll be a much nicer mom. Well, they were all in for that. Nicer mom Friday morning. And I stopped worrying about the laundry. So when do you think someone would say, I need to learn about the laundry? Oh, about 8:00 on Sunday night.
Yeah.
I need clean jeans. Yeah. All right. And our daughter said, I need clean jeans, Mom. And I said, oh, now here's really important. You can't be mad when you do this. I'm like, oh, do you want me to teach you how to do the laundry now? And she looked at me like, you're not going to do it? Like, okay. So we go to the washing machine. She puts her stuff in. I show her how to do that, the soap, the whole thing. And the jeans are going. And then she says, I'm so tired. I need to go to bed. Would you put it in the dryer? And I said, oh, I don't do laundry anymore. That's something I'm going to let you do. So you can either wait up until it's time to go in the dryer, or you can get up early in the morning and then you can put it in, and probably while you're eating breakfast and getting ready, your jeans will get dry. Now, do you think she waited up?
No.
No. Do you think she got up early so she could put her jeans in the dryer? No. And jeans take, sometimes close to an hour to dry, depending how many you got there. So she was bound and determined she was going to wear those jeans that day. So she learned a very important lesson. You can wear wet jeans to school. So she had them in the dryer for about 20, 30 minutes while she was throwing herself together. She was about 14 at the time. Then she put on those wet jeans and she wore them to school. Now, what do you think would have been a better learning lesson? For me to have rescued her and done the laundry, or for her to wear wet jeans to school?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the whole thing is you can't be mad while you're doing this, because you got to remember you were a kid once and you didn't make the best choices, but you learned to make better choices because you made poor choices. And here's the goal. And this is why it's so important for parents with a child that's not yet an adolescent. Give them the chance to fail and make poor choices when the price tag to those mistakes is small.
Say that again. That's really good.
Yeah. Give them the chance to fail and make poor choices when the price tag to that decision is small.
That's great.
Because, the older you get, the higher the price tag on most of those decisions.
Absolutely.
So give them some money that they need to manage of their own so they can spend it poorly. Just say, here, we gave our kids really a pretty significant sum of money for back to school supplies, and said now, and it looked like big to them, although at the time I'm thinking jeans, tennis shoes, whatever. And our son went out and spent $100 on a pair of tennis shoes, and that was 30 years ago. Yeah. And then he didn't have money for anything else, but he had those tennis shoes he wanted. Yep. Suddenly everything else looked like it would be okay. Now, is it better to learn that when you're 16, 17, or I think at the time he was 14, or better to learn that when you're 44
Absolutely.
or 34?
In filing bankruptcy, some of the things my wife has done really well, and I know a lot of parents have, something I'd advise people do. They've got a lot of apps out there that allow you to put certain money in your kid's account. They can put some in stock. They can pick a charity that they want to invest, but it really shows them. But financial is a big part of this world that can make or break people's security in their home. So you show them, hey, here's how much money that you're getting each week. Number one, here's because of the chores that you did. Here's why you earned it. Here's how much you have. You tithe this, you save this, and here's what else you can spend it on. And so what's a happy medium for parents out there to decide, hey, when should I step in and when should I hold back? I know it's a moving line, but it's something as small as schoolwork. It can be so easy to jump in too fast.
Yes.
When should you jump in?
I think anytime the child would benefit by learning to do it for him or herself, don't jump in anytime. And that can be a lot of times. So when our son was 16, he wanted to drive across the town we were living in at that time to his friend's house. It was snowing. And I said, he doesn't need to go. And his dad said, let him go. Okay, so there we have a decision point. Do you let your 16-year-old drive the Ford Escort across town to his buddy Eric's house? I'm like, no. And his dad's like, let him go. So he was gone. And about 2.5 hours later, we were sitting on the couch watching television, and our son came home and he said, Dad, I've got a problem. And my husband looked at him. Now you will have to struggle with this. Yeah. He said, what's the problem? Well, my wheel rim got bent. And my husband said, you don't expect me to get up off this couch and go out and get your car out of the ditch. Don't you have friends? Oh, I knew you were going to say that. So he stomped up the stairs, and it turns out the full story was he and his friends were doing wheelies in the parking lot and got the car in the ditch, bit up the wheel rim. So now he comes home, gets the car home, got out of the ditch, and he's like, I need to get my car fixed. Again, another opportunity for you to step in and rescue your child. And my husband said, well, they got places that can do that. You probably want to call somebody up and find out how you can get that done. Well, how am I going to do that? This is before cell phones. He goes, don't they have payphones over there at the high school? So he did. He called up a couple of places, found somebody who would come to the high school, repair the wheel rim, and he got that all done by himself. And of course, who paid for that? Not us. He had a job. And so he paid for that himself. Now, here's a really important thing about failure. You don't scold your kid.
Right.
You don't act like, how could you be so stupid? Did you listen to me? Were you listening to me when I said that? You don't do that. You're like, oh, well, how are you going to solve that? Now, you notice he got support from his dad. Don't you have some friends? Which, of course, he did. He was with his friends when he did that. Oh, there are places that can fix that. You could look that up. Like today, we'd say you might want to Google that, You got a cell phone. Why don't you call somebody up and find out how much it would cost to fix that? See what arrangements you can make. What did he learn from that? He learned driving skills. He learned how to get help from other people. He learned where certain things could be done.
Problem solving.
Think about all that things that he learned. And then, so years later, so now it's probably 4 or 5 years later, he's driving back from Colorado. He and 2 or 3 of his buddies had been out there skiing, and they close I-80 because of snow. And so they they were not too far from a friend's parents' house in western Nebraska. So they got off the road. They stayed over there a couple nights. I-80 was still closed. And he said they were able to drive north to I-90 and then get back to their college. And he said, well, he goes, I did the driving because I was the only one who had experienced driving in snow. So, years later, he had the confidence to handle a difficult situation because he knew how to drive carefully in the snow, and he knew what was going to happen if he didn't drive carefully in the snow. So that's what I want parents to think about, is you want your kid to have the confidence to say, I think I can figure this out. I know what to do. And they're only going to have that confidence if they've had to face some challenges and their parents didn't act like they were stupid. Or another thing that doesn't work well is guilt. And so had I said, well, if you just listened to me, you wouldn't have been in this situation, which is kind of guilt inducing. That doesn't work. It's kind of like kids will be kids. But I'm not going to rescue you, honey. I will.
Well, and I think it's important also to converse with them about the mistake they made. And they hate doing it. Like they talking to Liam anytime that he failed or talking about anything that doesn't go, your kid's way. They don't want to sit there and talk about it. They want to just kind of pout and I know. Hey, Liam, you shouldn't do that. I know. And they walk away from you. Yep. And so I think it's really important. Hey, now this is time. This is a teaching moment. I'm giving you pearls right now. Just got to listen. Put the phone down, look me in the eyes, and let's talk about it. How could you have done this differently?
So you ask a question, which I think is really good. How could you have done this differently? Do you find that they respond well to that? Or
yeah, eventually you have to give them time to, and that's one of the mistakes I made when my kid's upset. What's wrong? When I'm upset, it's very easy to tell when I'm upset. I want people in my face ask me what's wrong. So I need to learn better to give them some space to feel, because they feel guilt. They feel the frustration.
Yeah.
Let them feel that first and don't go in and try to fix their emotions right away either. Let that kind of work itself out and then have a conversation with them where hey, buddy, I need to talk to you. This is very important. Okay. And I know it might not seem like that now, but do you understand why we're in this situation? You have to talk about it, and you can't get frustrated and just go out and fix it. Hey, dummy, you messed up the car. Now I got to call and fix the tire. I mean, that's very important, and it creates a much more healthy relationship by talking about it. And, because they feel it. You're frustrated. Hey, they're frustrated as well. So you can't run into it. So since the beginning of time, since there were moms and dads, there's always been one parent that is more strict than the other. So what advice do you have out there for fathers to make sure that they're on the same page with their spouse? Because a lot of the times, and just from a stereotypical standpoint, the father's going to be hey, You broke it, you fix it. The rule follower and moms most of the time are seen as the ones that come in to save it. Not always.
I was the strict one in our house.
Yeah. And so if you have one parent that's more strict,
Yeah.
what's the best way to get on the same page so you're not creating these bad habits that will be with the kids for years to come?
As much as possible. First of all, I would say the strict one, if the other one can be a little calmer and ask questions, like sometimes I just had to keep my mouth shut. And like, because I knew that his laid back attitude, like not being mad, my husband not being mad, but kind of like, well, cavalier,
Yeah.
how are you going to fix that? That was probably the right approach
Yeah.
with our kids. But when there were some really big things, he and I would not make a decision in the moment. At one point, our son made a very poor decision about something in school. And at that moment, we decided we're not going to impose a consequence. We're just going to tell him, well, something's going to happen. We just can't say what yet, because we had to calm down and we had to talk to each other to make sure we were on the same page. I mean, surprisingly, that really does make a kid feel secure in the long run when mom and dad, even though they may not like it, they know that mom and dad are in agreement, and that can be very helpful. And when you can undermine one parent at the expense of the other, that is really not good for kids.
Right. And so we see that a lot in parents that get divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And so what advice do you have for dads? And I have several employees that, they want to draw the line,
Mm-hmm.
but the mom wants to be a lot more lenient on it. And so when you have two different households and they're playing one against the other, hey, this one gets their phone taken away over here. I two of my very good friends are going through this right now. Hey, at our house, here's what you did, taking the phone away. Once they get back to mom, they get the phone
Mm-hmm.
back. And so what advice you have for dads in that particular situation? They're trying to do the best that they can to parent their kids in the way that they feel is best, and the other parent isn't necessarily on the same page.
It's an unfortunate situation, but I think we need to remember that children can adjust to different rules in different households. I mean, clearly when they go to school, they have one teacher who treats them in a particular way in this classroom and another teacher who might treat them in a different way in another classroom. And so you might just say, I know that this, you can always ask mom, you can always, or ask dad, you can say, hey, can we agree on this? But if the other parent will not be in agreement with you, then you can say, well, I understand this is the way it is at your mom's house, but at my house, this is the way we're going to handle it. And then you just stick with your standard of behavior at your house. It might be really important, though. It is really important as much as possible to talk to the other parent and say, hey, how can we be on the same page, and truly listen, not interrupt, try to understand. And then you'll have the opportunity, hopefully, to say, well, this is what I hope we could teach our child. I know that we're not together, but I know we both want the best for him. So don't assume, don't say things like, she's just lazy, she doesn't care about him, she doesn't really want to discipline him. That's not helpful. Assume that the other parent wants the best for the child and ask her to partner or join with you. And then if she doesn't, I wouldn't make a big thing of it with the kid. I would just say, well, your mom has rules and I have different rules.
And so it's important to keep that same standard.
Yeah.
So I think, when you start feeling guilt about this on failure, if you look at some of the people that we hold up in high esteem throughout history, Abraham Lincoln, Michael Jordan, Winston Churchill, if you go back, hey, what motivated you? All three of them point towards failure. Mm-hmm. Michael Jordan, he said, I've missed thousands of shots in my life, 28 times, been asked to take the game-winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over and over again, and that's why I succeed. And so I think it's important to remember that all these people that have been highly, highly successful, the vast majority of them were motivated by their failure. They took something, they learned from it, and they came back better than ever. So it starts at a young age, and allowing them just to feel that. And it isn't fun. Like it's not fun. You see that, and I have an opportunity to coach my boys. You start seeing the tears on the sideline. Like it is such a natural reaction to go coddle and to go and just go help them. Hey, let me get through and do it for them. And that's when we have to remember, man, they need this, because you're not always going to be there. You're not going to be there, and they will learn from this. They're gonna come out better. And your phrase about, letting them make the mistakes while it's not expensive is vitally crucial. So let it happen under your house in a controlled environment before they get out there in the real world, and it's going to help them for years to come.
If you can get your head around the fact that you need to be happy about and excited that they made some mistakes, because that is going to help them grow and learn so much better than annoyance, anger, irritability. Of course, it's not fun if they leave your tools out in the rain or something like that. But again, them learning, if you can be a little bit excited about that, like, oh, great learning opportunity.
Right. That's key. It's not failure. It's a learning opportunity.
It's a learning opportunity.
So that's great. Well, Dr. Baker, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
If there's anything else that anybody wants to find out about Good Dads, go to gooddads.com. Check out us on Twitter, Instagram, and podcast, wherever you choose to listen to your podcast at. So
that's right.
This is great. See you next week.
All right.